Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Dairy Signal. Before we dive in today, I just want to recognize our national partners. Without them, we wouldn't be able to put on programs like the Dairy Signal. But I also want to remind our audience here today, if it's our first time joining, that you can ask us any and all questions that you might have here today. In the bottom right-hand corner, there are three dots, and then click on those three dots. It will prompt you to put your name in, but feel free to just put anonymous, and that way we can get any and all of your questions answered here today. But today we have kind of a seasoned pro here at PDP. We have Morgan Ekovich, health and nutrition coach, founder of Get Fit With Me. And Morgan, I'll hand it over to you, but if you don't mind doing a quick introduction for those that might be new around Dairy Signal.
Yeah, thank you for having me on again. I always love being on the Dairy Signal, and being at Business Conference last week was awesome. So some of you tuning in, you might have sat through my learning lounge session, which we're kind of going to cover today, but we're going to go just a little bit different. So if you did tune in last week, please stick around because we will hit different parts of that. But I'm an online personal trainer, nutrition coach here in Lansing, Michigan, so a little bit across the pond from you guys. And I've been doing this since 2020. Can't believe it's been 6 years, like on the dot. So, with that, we're going to talk about smart eating habits and nutrition today, really focusing on protein, fiber, and then if you are a late night snacker. And I love these because we have a conversation. I'm not here to just present a slide deck, which like some people really enjoy. I prefer not to. So, I'm excited to talk about this today, Caitlin.
Awesome. Good. I'll have you dive right into it. I know me and my husband were expecting our first baby, so I am always looking for ways to also get more protein and fiber into the diet with expecting another little human around here.
Yeah, so I guess let's start with protein. So, protein is your foundation. It is something that is critical in our energy roles. And as you are pregnant and you are growing a baby, and then if you breastfeed and your body is changing, whether you are in that stage or you are just really active day to day, or maybe you are just sedentary and you're wanting to lose some weight, protein is essential in our meals and in what we eat. So if you were to look over at my slides, I've got this little, feel free to take screenshots or take a snapshot on your computer, pull out your phone, take a picture, because I want you to have these resources. So, examples of really easy protein are eggs. You can hard boiled eggs, super easy. Egg whites are a really nice alternative I know a lot of you probably have chickens, and if your chickens are not producing right now, you can get real eggs and then get the egg whites to kind of supplement and make those eggs fresh from your chickens go a little bit longer. Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, beef, chicken, turkey, pork. And then there's protein shakes and protein bars, which I had a lot of questions on at business conference of are they good? Which ones are good? Which ones are bad? Should I be limiting them? And everybody's situation is unique. I love protein bars and protein drinks as a supplementation. Ideally, if we can get you as much whole food as possible, that is the ultimate goal. But if you're on the go, you're in the tractor, you're in the car, I was talking to one of you and you're like, yeah, a couple times a week I'm up at 2 out the door by 3 a.m. Like, yeah, you're not making yourself a full breakfast. You may be running on a Fairlife 42 gram of protein drink with your coffee. Like, I would much rather have you go for that than completely skip a meal in general, which I think is typically what we do is we just skip a meal because we think if I can't have whole foods, why would I have anything?
Yeah, absolutely. And when we're talking about kind of meal prepping and these busy life schedules, what are some challenges that you see a lot of people facing when they're doing the meal planning? Because sometimes there's a lot of planning that goes into it. So sometimes if you don't run to the grocery store, you're still running on low fumes and that kind of stuff. What kind of tips and tricks do you have for some of those challenges of maybe not having the time to necessarily meal plan fully the way you would like to?
Yeah, so biggest thing is meal prepping and planning is going to look different to every single person. For some of you, you love leftovers. You would rather make all your foods on Sunday, rewarm them at every meal. Others are like, no. I don't want to do that. I hate leftovers. Don't make me microwave anything. Don't make me eat the same thing 2 days in a row. So first you got to determine what type of person are you, because that then determines, okay, what type of meal prepping and planning you're going to do. First thing we always have to do though, whichever option you choose, you have to sit down and pull out your calendar and actually establish what meals do you need to feed yourself for? And when I say that, I mean cook or prepare to pack a snack for. Because if you look at your calendar and you realize you have a work dinner every single night this week, why are you planning dinner when you don't really need to? And yes, there may be family members, so that's why you have to plan. But really looking at your calendar and seeing how many meals do you actually have to plan for. Typically, it's not 5 meals 7 days a week. We never have to plan that much. The next thing is trying to wash and repeat, having some staples. I'm going to go to the next slide on this protein sheet, and this is a really good one to kind of have in hand. Um, these are just high protein foods. So we want to aim for a palm-sized serving of protein at every meal. And as we're meal planning, we want to look, do I have protein at breakfast? Do I have protein at lunch? Do I have protein at dinner? That palm size is also the size of that deck of cards. So if you're somebody who plays cards a lot, that is also the same exact size. So kind of just keeping that in mind. But this is, if you have a scale, you can also use this sheet and say, okay, I'm going to have 6 ounces, which equals 17 grams of protein of Greek yogurt. Also, just looking at the ingredient, looking at your nutrition label to be like, okay, it's a half a cup. So being familiar with that to know, am I getting enough in? So once we've created our meals, the next step is going to the grocery store and making sure you have the things on hand to actually make the meals. And for a lot of you, that is as far as you get in the meal prep and planning process. I have my list, I know what I'm going to eat, and I have everything to make that happen. And that is maybe as far as you go. Over time, you'll then decide, okay, can I cook some veggies in advance to make that easier? Or can I chop some veggies? If you're like, I really like, I want hummus and veggies on the go, but I don't want to buy a veggie tray. So maybe you spend your weekend or your Sunday, whatever day you come back from the grocery store, wash your veggies, cut them and put them in a Ziploc baggies with those single serve hummus containers. And then you make your little snack bags that are easy to go. Maybe you keep going and you make all your protein, all your veggie. So everybody's at a different stage, but you got to at least do the first two. Figure out what your meals are, write them down, and then make sure you've got all the ingredients. Because I don't know how many times I've even been like, I'm gonna have spaghetti this week. And then I go to make it, I'm like, I don't have spaghetti sauce. I'm like, I don't have enough like random tomatoes to either like even make my own. So I'm like, well, that kind of went out the window. How do I transition? Um, which then kind of brings me into a tool. I know AI is huge right now, and there's so many AI tools. The only one that I've used this for specifically is ChatGPT. I do have a paid version, but you can use it completely free. I will ask it to help me create meals of like, I really like this, I really like this, or these are the 3 proteins I have on hand already in the deep freeze, which a lot of us do. These are the veggies I already have. These are the carbs I already have. Help me create meals for the week based on the groceries I already have at home. And it will help create ideas for you without you having to go and buy more groceries. The other thing is the spaghetti. I can say, I'm out of spaghetti sauce. This is what I have in my pantry. I can take a picture and ask, okay, what other kind of sauce could I make to go with beef meatballs and some spaghetti noodles? And it will give you some ideas. So, like, if you're stuck, you don't have to be stuck. Using AI for that reason has been super helpful, especially at the end of the day when we're all kind of exhausted and somehow we didn't realize we had to sign up to make ourselves dinner for the rest of our life after we moved out of our parents' home.
Exactly. And is there a general rule of thumb, like based on your body weight, how many grams of protein you should be consuming? Obviously, everyone's nutritional needs are different, but wasn't sure if there was a general rule of thumb that you could give our viewers just so that if we're trying to work on our protein needs, where we can start.
Yeah, so it is going to be very generalized, partly because it's based on your activity level. So if you're somebody who's really active, you're lifting weights, you are lifting just heavy things on the farm, you're going to want more protein to help sustain that muscle that you are building, whether you're in the gym building muscle or you're on the farm. Like you are building muscle. So you're going to want a little bit more. If you are somebody who's pretty sedentary and you maybe get a walk in per a day, or maybe you have a weightlifting session, y- you are less active, so you don't need as much. I always tell people try to aim for 100 grams of protein. Just the thing is, though, you got to track it to kind of get to that 100 grams, which, like, that's another thing on our to-do list. I think tracking food for a week to really get an insight into what am I eating, what am I not eating, what am I missing is a really great tool, but that's not for all of us in the stage of life we are in. So that's where it comes back to making sure you've got that palm-sized serving of protein at every single meal and snack. If you can sit and look and do a rough estimate of, yep, I have enough. I have a serving of protein. I've got 2 eggs, I've got some cottage cheese, I've got a serving of chicken breast, I've got a burger or a beef patty. Like, can I sit down and do that and mentally check that off? That right there is a really good way to get started, is just become visually aware and start doing like a mental check off. As you progress and you want to dive deeper, food logging and tracking those grams is really helpful to kind of get a sense of what's missing and to help change that body a little bit more in depthly.
And I'm glad you brought up those tracking apps. Are there any that you recommend or what to look for in some of those tracking apps, or even if it's just a journal, where should we get started?
Yeah, so least resistance for you. Typically, when I say food logging, everyone's like, "You want me to do what?" So I always tell people your three main options are the notes section in your phone, the opening, getting a physical notebook and writing it down. Ideally, please don't do random sticky notes that are just all throughout your house, because when you send them to me, you can never find a random day in the middle. So somewhere, either a digital notebook, a real notebook. There are two apps that I personally like. The MyFitnessPal has been around forever, and that's probably one you've heard a lot about. That one is really great when I work with clients because you don't have to pay for it. I don't have to pay for it, but we can share our diaries with each other. So I can say, hey, Caitlin, add me as a friend. Make your diary either public or add a password to it. I always tell people make the password Morgan lowercase so I don't have to think of a different password for every single person. Just make it my name lowercase. And then I can go in and I can look at all the food you've logged. The downside to MyFitnessPal is you cannot do the barcode scanning, which I know is super helpful to be able to scan a barcode on your loaf of bread and to say, this is what I had. That being said, there is another app called Chronometer, Cronometer. That one has barcode scanning. We cannot share data back and forth. So that would require screenshots being sent to me, which like isn't that big of a deal. But sometimes just sometimes adding that extra layer can be challenging. The one cool part about Chronometer compared to MyFitnessPal is Chronometer actually breaks down to like every single nutrient that your body needs. So like folate, it tells you like where are you even getting folate in your diet? Are you getting iron? So it like breaks down a lot of those nutrients that like we don't even realize that we should be eating foods to help kind of fill those categories. Especially if you get blood work done and you're like, oh, I am low in iron, then we can look and say, well, I'm not eating any foods with iron in it. Probably not the case here. I think a lot of you are beef eaters, so like you get iron in there. You also get it from spinach and dark leafy greens, but that there's like pros and cons to each. I have them both on my phone. When I do want to track with an app, I typically go to Chronometer, but my Fitness Pal is it's just so natural. So it just I kind of go back and forth. You'll find the one that works for you. And it's not meant to be a long-term tracking. You're not supposed to track for the rest of your life, but it's meant to be a tool that you can come back to when you feel like, I don't know, I kind of feel like feeling a little more sluggish, my energy's a little down. Maybe I'm not eating as good as I think I am. That's where tracking kind of comes into play. And we're like, oh yeah, I've had ice cream the last 6 nights and I've also added sugar. I've also added chocolate chips and chocolate syrup on top, which is not bad. But if you're noticing that wasn't part of your routine, until we start to look at it and see it in paper or in an app, we don't notice it's happening. We don't create that awareness.
Yeah, definitely. And especially, that can always be so intimidating for people that are wanting to start to track is there's so many tools out there. How do you navigate it? What are the pros and cons of each one? So I appreciate you diving into that.
Yeah. And the other part is if you send it to me, the two things that typically happen. People are embarrassed to send me their food log. I don't care. I really don't care what is on it. My goal is first to ask you, what do you see? Before I even point out what's great and where you could use a little bit of work. The second thing is people like to change their diet when they know somebody else is going to look at it. So I've had multiple people send me their food logs and I'm like, wow, you eat a ton of veggies. That's awesome. They're like, well, I only did that because you were going to be looking at it. Please continue to eat the same way. Like it doesn't help you and it doesn't help me get a really good idea, but it's hard because it's letting somebody into that portion of your life that we may hold on to some shame to, which we shouldn't. It's just knowledge and learning.
Yes, absolutely. And I know you talked in the beginning a little bit about protein, but I know there's so many other things a part of the diet that are so important as well. So I'll let you dive into a little bit more of those things too.
Yeah, so the next thing that you guys have probably, if you have a social media account of any sort, you have probably noticed protein is a big trending word, and so is fiber. And fiber is really important. That also supports our energy, it supports our digestion, and it also supports fullness. Fiber works alongside protein to support digestion, stabilize blood sugar, and improve our overall gut health. Most adults consume significantly less fiber than recommended, which can lead to energy crashes and increased cravings. Which, if you have late night cravings or you notice mid afternoon you have that sugar craving, it could be the lack of fiber. There's a lot of things that come into play. I'm going to talk about the two different types of fiber because they're soluble and insoluble. And one of them, if you are somebody who has high cholesterol or your doctor has told you you're borderline, got to get it under control or we're going to put you on medication, you can control it without having to go on medication, but it takes intentionality. So I'm going to go to the next slide just so you guys can see. Feel free to take a picture of this one. So the difference of the foods, some of the foods are the same, so you can get like a double whammy for them. But let's talk about soluble fiber. Soluble fiber dissolves in water to form a gel-like substance that slows digestion, whereas insoluble fiber does not dissolve, instead helps add bulk to your stool to speed up going to the bathroom. That being said, if you are somebody who is constipated all the time, but you're like, I'm getting fiber, you're probably not getting enough of insoluble fiber. If you're somebody who is wanting to lower their cholesterol, you need to look at more soluble fiber. So each of them have different benefits. So benefits of soluble fiber are it helps lower cholesterol, it helps regulate our blood sugar, it helps our weight management, and it's a prebiotic. Whereas insoluble fiber helps prevent constipation, supports our gut health. We've probably heard a lot of stuff out there about our gut health and our microbiome and all the things. I feel like all of the trending right now is fiber and gut health. And really making sure that we're aware of what we are eating, where it's coming from, and are we even getting these? And the hard part is so many of us stick with vegetables and fruit. And that's our go-to is we just believe fiber is in vegetables and fruit, but it's in whole grains. It's also in nuts and seeds. It's in lentils, black beans. I've started adding like a fourth of a cup of beans just to my daily eating, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner. Sometimes it's a snack. I personally like straining chickpeas, putting them in my colander, keeping them on the counter with a plate, and like grabbing a handful when I walk by. Like they're a really easy snack. I love the taste of them, but we want to make sure we've got a variety and a mixture between insoluble, soluble, as well as not just getting them from fruits and vegetables, but looking at oats and grains, looking at beans, looking at seeds, trying to use the whole category. And that doesn't mean per day, but it means throughout your week. Because if I told you you had to do all of these per day, it would be exhausting on top of all the other things. But just say, okay, have I had a whole grain this week? Vegetables, I would prefer you have every day, though. That would be one that I would not leave to a once a week situation, personally, would be my recommendation.
Absolutely. And one other thing that I'm seeing a lot in my social media feed with nutrition trends is also electrolytes. And I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot with this one, Morgan. It is are there good electrolytes or bad electrolytes when it comes to nutrition? I know I'm seeing things add this to your water and it is qualifies for like 3 bottles of water throughout the day. Like is there times when that's useful, but you don't need to be consuming that every day? I would love to pick your brain on that as well.
Yeah, so fantastic question. If you are a sedentary individual, if you are not sweating a ton and your body is not excreting a lot of liquids, you don't really need an electrolyte. So this is a 32-ounce water bottle. If I'm all of a sudden on my sixth one of these throughout the day and I still am feeling thirsty, I probably need an electrolyte. So thinking through, because that's a lot of water. An electrolyte just helps bind the water in our body so it actually hangs on and stays hydrated rather than it just kind of flushing out right away. So, depending on your activity level, if you're sweating a lot, farmers, when you're in that tractor, you probably need an electrolyte. If you are out fixing fence, if it is hot and you are moving and you are sweaty, get yourself an electrolyte. It can be some sea salt that you just put in your water. It doesn't have to be very much. It can be a mix of coconut water and sea salt. It can be a liquid IV, an element, a drip drop. There's so many different ones out there. The one hard part is, and all the brands have it. So you just pick whichever one feels best for you and your health goals. You either choose the one with sugar in it and you know you are putting excess sugar that your body doesn't need, but it tastes good. Or you're choosing the no sugar, which is fake sugar, which some people have different feelings on, and you're just putting that in your body. And that actually is sweeter. So you have to pick one that feels right for you. I have started to like my two that I've gone to recently are Drip Drop, and I only use half a packet. And then the Element, which is, I think that's just LMT, MT electrolyte, LMNT. Um, those ones are pretty good. I've the variety pack, they are zero sugar, so they've got they have the fake stuff in it, but you can get them with sugar. It's just kind of based on your preference. We all have like, no, drink the Diet Coke, no, drink the Diet Coke, whatever it is. I'm gonna let you choose that for yourself, is because they're not meant to be consumed all of the time, multiple times. If you're having multiple of these throughout the day, um, also something to look at, because if you have high blood pressure, you got to be careful of that, because that does take sodium does take that up, and there's a lot of sodium in there. So you want to look for ones that also have magnesium, that have more in it than just sugar and sodium.
Yeah, good to know just because I'm seeing so many different options and similar to the protein, it's like what are you looking for when it comes to these different products and all the different things that you're trying to navigate? And sometimes the price difference between all these different products is kind of big. So is it missing an important ingredient that you might need? So we appreciate your thoughts on the different electrolytes that are out there too.
And if they're a market, people have a tendency, companies have a tendency to do this. If they are marketing it specifically to women, we don't need different electrolytes than men. So like all they are doing is trying to jack up the price and put a pink tax on it. So just keep that in mind. Same with creatine. Creatine's another really big one out there right now. Like you got to just look for the supplement itself. Don't get caught in the marketing scheme, but it's hard when you see the people market it, and it's really, marketing has gotten so good, and it's really easy to give companies your money that don't need your money. So just be aware, do your research. Feel free to reach out to me if you're like, I don't know, I saw this. Is this a scam? Should I actually have this? Like, I'm more than happy to, if you've got any supplements that you're like, I don't know, should I even be taking this? Like, send them my way. Anything you can also look for that's third party tested. Your electrolytes you aren't going to find, but anything like your creatine, your vitamin D, any of those type of supplements, make sure they're third party tested. It just means they've gone through extra screening process, considering supplements are not approved by the FDA. So there's like people could literally create a supplement and do like one round of testing. Third party just means it's gone through rigorous testing, so you know exactly what's going to be in it. So that's my other little piece to just look for.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any other like myths or trends that you're seeing kind of on your feed as well to kind of watch out for or put a flag in? Could be good or bad things too.
Um, I think the trends that are happening right now that I think we could really go into a huge deep dive in is the GLP ones right now, which I know we don't have time to dive into that. And I support any of my clients who choose to do it or not. But the one thing I will say is if that is where you choose to go with your doctor and that is supported and it makes sense for you guys, you need to be strength training. Like you need to be strength training and you need to be looking at your lifestyle changes and your habits because that is one of the things I've had clients who have had the sleeve, they've had gastric, and they didn't make lifestyle changes. So then they come to me a couple years after these big life changes where they get to the body size they want, but they realize they don't have muscle mass. They have started to gain some of that weight back. So no matter what avenue you choose that is right for you, I support that, but I need you to be strength training. I don't care if you're male or female. More specifically for females because we are prone to osteoporosis and there's more and more stuff coming out right now how we're losing our bone density on those. So that is the thing is if you are choosing any of those other things that are trending out there in the weight loss category, please make sure that you are continuing to strength train, you're focusing on water, you are fueling your body, and you are looking at lifestyle changes, managing your stress. If you can't manage your stress, I don't care where you are in life, you're going to feel exactly the same. Your body is not going to change. You're going to end up in one spot and you're going to end up right back where you were. So that is my little 2 cents on a conversation we could dive into for probably hours.
Absolutely. And I know, Morgan, that we have a limited amount of time with you today. You've covered a lot of great information. Is there any last thoughts you want to leave our viewers with today?
Yeah, I guess the thing I want to leave with you is nutrition can be scary and it can be one of those things that we are now starting to get curious about and people are posting what they eat every day on social media and they're posting this is your journey is different than someone else's. There is no perfect right step best option for all of us. If there was, we'd all be doing it. It is so individualized to each of us. So if you can really look at the basics, think how much water are you drinking? Are you drinking any? If you're not drinking 60 to 90 ounces as a female, 90 to 120 as a male, make that your first goal. If you're only getting 2,000 steps because you may have a more sedentary job, or you're like, I get 10,000 steps, but I get them all in the morning and then I sit the rest of my day, you're still considered sedentary. The goal is to get those steps throughout the day. If we sit primarily or we stand still, that also counts. For the majority, we are still sedentary. So start there. Can we move just a little bit more? Can we fill our water bottle up one extra time so we get a few extra steps to be a bit more active? And with your nutrition, you cannot fix it all at once. And it doesn't really need fixing, it really just needs fine tuning. So keep that log. Feel free to send it to me. I will audit anything completely free. And then I'll give you some suggestions of like, wow, you're doing really great with this. I see you only have one vegetable once a week. Why is that? We'll figure out the reason behind it and not just eat more vegetables because there's typically a reason why or some resistance to why you're not doing it in the first place. It's not because you don't know that you need to be doing it. It's because there's some resistance. So we'll find what that resistance point is and I'll get you going on the right track.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Morgan. And I truly appreciate just being able to have an open conversation with you and literally look at all the different trends that are going on and how to navigate those. So we always appreciate your time here on the Dairy Signal. I also want to remind our viewers that to watch today's Dairy Signal episode, they can head over to pdpw.org and watch the recording and see Morgan's tips for us. Just just in case you're looking for that a few days from now. But I also want to remind our viewers that we have a Smart Dairy workshop coming up on April 15th and 16th. And it's all going to be talking about artificial intelligence and how to incorporate that into your dairy herd management. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please go to our website and register for that event again on April 15th and 16th. But I also want to thank our national partners again for being with us day in and day out. And we will see you guys next week on the Dairy Signal.